Good morning, afternoon, or evening, and welcome to just the second Marginal Gains episode of 2021 thus far. If you caught my recent 7 hours of mirror match live streaming with Alistair, you will have heard him mentioning a key tech that he credited with a large improvement in his recent performances. Now, it seemed to make a difference to me, but did it? So let's find out by investigating if there is, in fact,
one
tech
to rule them all.
So before I let you know the tech, I'm going to do that annoying YouTube video thing of reminding you to click like, subscribe, the bell, all those sorts of things. But I'm not just going to do that. I'm also going to let you know that you can now follow me on Twitter at twitter.com/Tom0AD. That's right, I have joined the early 2010s. Anyway, that's quite enough waiting for you, so without further ado, the tech in question is called Fertility Festival. It's available from houses, it costs 250 food, 100 wood and 100 metal, and it's available right away in the village phase. Basically, it will allow you to train female villagers from houses, although they will have a much longer training time than they would if you train them from the civic centre. So the question is whether it's worth that investment, and if it is, how much does it speed up your population growth? Well, here's a quick overview of the tech itself. It takes 60 seconds to research, it takes 30 seconds to train a female villager, as opposed to 9 from the civic centre, and you have to bear in mind you will get no batch training bonus. So the important question then, is it worth the investment? To decide, why don't we look at a few pros and cons. In terms of pros, it allows you to use your civic centre for soldiers while still training female villagers from houses. And if you're using a civilization that has houses that offer a 5-person population bonus, then you're even better placed because 150 wood, it will equate to 2 places from which to train villagers as opposed to a 10-person houses just 1. In terms of cons, it's 3.5 times slower than the civic centre to train female villagers. It costs 100 metal, which means that assuming you get the farming and woodcutting techs, you will not have any metal left for the mineral collecting techs. And it doesn't have any batch training bonus, so it's 30 seconds for 1 villager, 60 seconds for 2, although this is obviously offset by being able to train from a potentially large number of houses. So what else could you be doing with that resource and time early in the game? Well, for example, you could double all your women's health with loom, train 1 woman, and be just 100 wood away from getting iron axe heads, which is the first woodcutting upgrade. You could train 5 women and be 100 wood away from getting iron axe heads. Or you could train 3 women, 2 soldiers, and still have the metal, albeit no wood, for iron axe heads. So as you can see, there are plenty of options available to you. You don't have to go for this, but if you do decide that you think it's worth it, then let's have a look at how and when you may want to use this. So looking into Alistair's games that we played, he tended to get it between 4.5 minutes and 5.5 minutes, and with houses that gave a population of about 40, which equates to 8 5-population houses and 4 10-population ones. When considering that to train at the rate of the civic centre you will need approximately 4 houses, and to surpass its training speed you'll need 5, I recommend having at least this number of houses, and in fact probably more before researching this tech. Based on my own experience with the tech, I think that around the 5-minute mark is in fact ideal. By then you should have sufficient houses to make it worthwhile and also have the surplus wood, food and metal to spare as you've already developed your civilization a fair amount. To make it easy to train during development, I like to assign 5 houses to Command Group 3. This means I can train 5 villagers in 30 seconds, which is the perfect amount to completely fill a farm. Later in the game, once all my farmers are kind of set up and working, I reassign Command Group 3 to a larger number of houses, somewhere between 10 and 15. This means that if I need woodcutters quickly at any point, I'll be able to get a large number of female villagers in just 30 seconds, send them to a key area of the map with trees and start chopping right away. If you can, then you should also try and send 4 or 5 pikemen or spearmen per every 15 villagers to defend them from cavalry raids, as that's very useful. And remember, set those soldiers to aggressive stance in order to defend your women against those cavalry raids. And the final advice I have is never batch train. Just set it to train 1 villager and then repeat that process. This is because your first set of villagers can be collecting resources while the second one trains. As there's no time saving in the batch training, you don't want to miss out on the resource gathering due to the force of habit you've probably got for batch training from the civic centre and from barracks. And in conclusion, that is about that. I do recommend looking at it in any game where you're not under immediate attack. So I would think if you are facing raids, then you're probably going to need that wood, food and metal for soldiers and resource collecting techs, so this shouldn't be a priority. However, in the case of matches where you're being allowed to boom, it is definitely worth considering and will give you a great bonus. I know that I've started using it in many games and I've seen my boom go through the roof. And I know that Alistair is also a massive fan of the tech. Obviously, he was the one that brought it to my attention. And anyway, with that, I will wish you a pleasurable week. Stay safe and muito obrigado e adeus.